involved with fast pitch. Okay. I'm going to walk you guys through the coaching aspect of the fast pitch and a bunch of other details we're going to walk through. So interrupt me if you have questions. We'll try to save some time towards the end for questions as well. So before I start, I had a few questions for you. So how many of you have been to a fast pitch event, that is the final showdown, or been a coach? About 50%. Any other event which involved this kind of business plan competition and coaching and stuff like that? Okay. So I'll try not to go overboard with some of the coaching particulars, but I'll do specify or try to focus on what is unique about ours. Okay, so first thing, of course, let's see if I can make this thing work. Laptop there? Not yet. Murphy's Law. While she does that, let me introduce to Maureen O'Hara right here. She's the big picture leader, knows everything about the fast pitch.
Is there anybody here who hasn't got an email from me? Okay, I'll catch up, don't worry.
There.
Okay.
No, we went too far ahead. Okay. And Jamisa Gorley, you're going to hear a lot from her as well. She's the program manager for this event. And Anthea Fernandez in the back, and you're going to hear a lot from her as well. And that's all good things you're going to hear. Okay, so SVP in the SVP Fast Pitch is Social Venture Partners, as I guess most of you know what SVP is. But SVP is a unique organization, a unique way of doing business. It's about philanthropy, but it's more than just writing a check or volunteering here and volunteering there. It provides you a structured platform to volunteer, not only your money if you have, and also your time and your skills, and do it in a way which is very purposeful and intentional. You engage in the areas which excite you. If you're passionate about education, you get to work with the organization who focus on education. If you're passionate about environment, you get to work with the organization who are focused on environment. So you dial in your engagement depending on your situation. And we all have busy lives and families and other commitments. Some months we have more time on hand, some months we don't. So you get to choose, and you get to choose an engagement which works for you and the way it works for you. I find that's one of the biggest advantage, gives me the flexibility and not feel guilty. Oh, I signed up for something and I'm not able to do it. Well, I'm not going to sign up for that thing this time. I'm going to sign up maybe next month or a month afterward. And we started in '97. And now we have grown to more than 500 partners. And these partners are generally very successful people in their careers. Not all of them, have spent 30, 40 years in whatever their chosen line of businesses. Many of them young people, they're just up and coming, but they want to give back, and they want to give back on their terms. They want to see where their dollar goes, where their effort goes, and how they can be part of the process. So here's a few numbers for you to mull over. About 17 million in grants we have given out, 35,000 volunteer hours, and 150 plus nonprofit organizations. If I can say one thing about SVP, it's about building the capacity. So we don't try to just give you just a fish to eat. We really try to teach you how to fish so you can eat and you can then feed others as well. So have a multiplier. Now the fast pitch, and I should say SVP fast pitch. She reminds me all the time, SVP fast pitch, because it's SVP fast pitch, but it is a fast pitch. So it's a business pitch competition, and you might have heard of, seen Shark Tank. It's not quite that obnoxious, but, but the spirit is the same. The idea is you have an idea which is promising, you have done some work on it, you think it's going to go places. Well, here's a chance to convince me or us, judges, that it is really idea has legs, and you've thought about it, and you got the right team, you got the right thinking, right people on board, what have you. So you end up making that presentation at some point of time in this particular event. And here's the success story. I think I love this event. That's the big reason I'm part of SVP. And I was involved from the very beginning with this event as well, so that has something to do with it. also. So in the last 6 years, look at 15,000, more than 15,000 hours of coaching we have provided. And we provided more than $1 million in grants. And this only goes to the nonprofits. It's not included, this number doesn't include the investment gone into for-profits by people on their individual capacity. And while we're talking about these numbers, let me say there are 5 tracks to this competition. High school, university, nonprofits, established, and nonprofit startup and for-profit. And there's a subtle difference between those 2 nonprofits. One are a little younger, other ones are part of a bigger organization. So those are the 5 tracks. Just keep in mind because we're going to come to that in a minute. Why do it? Well, I mean, if you're in business, this ROI sounds all the time you think about. What's the return on investment? And investment doesn't always have to be in dollars. Dollars and effort and energy, what's the return on that? So we always, SVP excels at finding opportunities which have multiplier effect. So it's good if I can take 4 kids off street and teach them something. It's better if I can take 4 kids off street, then I can teach them something so they can take 4 each off street. So they're 16 and therefore more and more, and you can see the exponential effect of this thing. So that's the focus, and this is no different. So we're essentially providing a platform here through this event, which engages the community in supporting these brilliant, innovative ideas, which may be in early stages and not proven yet. But if these people are able to make a case to you, in this case judges, but eventually to a larger audience, they may say, hey, I love this, what you guys are doing. Let me see how I can help. That's the point of this whole thing. So you engage the broader community in more ways than once, not just write me a check and then go away and we'll send you an annual report. It's more about they get engaged, they help drive it, they help connect you with other people in their network and whatnot, and they get vested in making you successful. And that's exactly what we're looking for. So we're trying to create this social innovation, or the innovation which has social impact in society. Here's some of the areas of our innovators. We call these people innovators. You can call them entrepreneurs. They are truly entrepreneurs. We call them innovators because we put a little premium on innovation aspect. It is not sufficient to have just an idea which can sustain itself and maybe become profitable down the road. We value that. But we're also looking for what's new about it. Because if you're addressing homelessness, I promise you there are like 4,000 different ways or different organizations doing it. What's different about you? What are you going to do different? And if you're markedly different in some ways and you convince people, you're going to get a lot of help and a lot of support. So these are some of the areas. I forgot to mention early on, we're going to send all these slides and a bunch of other material to you in email later on. So don't be compelled to take a lot of notes or anything, but feel free to. I'm going to turn it over to Maureen to provide you a bird's eye view of what the program is like and what roughly the timeline looks like.
Thank you, Hi, welcome, and thank you all for being here. This is my 5th fast pitch, and it's not just because I don't have a life, because I do give up my time to do this. I'm absolutely passionate about it. What I say is I don't have that next great idea to make a difference in the world, but I can help working with a team of people to accelerate 56 different organizations every year that are making a difference in the world. And that's what we are doing, you guys are doing here as coaches. Is for a 4-month period, giving between 10 and 20 and 40 hours of your time, 10 to 20 hours is the minimum of your time, to just give an organization a little bit of boost. And I find that the most fulfilling part of Fast Pitch. So this is an overview of Fast Pitch, our handy dandy diagram, and you'll see it over and over again. And I'll walk you through it. So right now, we're in this application period where we have people right now, probably as we speak, literally, because there are 5 days left to applications. So is that right, Jameson? The counts are going up. And we'll have between 100 and 120 different applicants in the 5 different tracks that Prati talked about. One thing I want to highlight is that we in Seattle are overachievers. So there are other fast pitches put on by SVPs around the country, and most of them have startup nonprofit tracks and established nonprofit tracks. We are the only fast pitch with 5 tracks. We have the for-profit track because we understand that you can make money and do good in the world. And we find it very inspirational to work with the students, with the high school track and the college track. And if you think for 2 seconds that those are our weakest tracks, if you've ever been to a Fast Pitch before, the kids blow the adults out of the water, not with their presentation skills only, but in their innovation and their creativity. And we highlight the kids every year. I also feel strongly about we're inspiring kids. For a high school student to come to our program and receive coaching from professional coaches, what that's going to make a difference in their life, even though that's not the idea that's going to hit, they will be so empowered that these are going to be the change makers of the world. So we're in the application process now. The application deadline is June 20th. After a 2-day period of pre-screening to make sure that we have only applications in the system that qualify for our program at each of the different tracks. We will have screeners. Do you have anybody in this room that has volunteered to screen so far? A couple of screeners. Screening to me is, Patty and I were just talking about this, I love screening. And I can tell you over the last several years, yes, I have read over 100 applications. Like I said, I'm not creative, but gosh darn it, some people really, really are. What the screening does is it is not just picking those top 56 innovators that we will take into our program, but because we are a free program, for some startup applications for new programs, we are the only feedback we get. And the first year this happened, I was stunned by it. And now I know to watch for it every year. We only take 56 innovators. So 40 to 60 will get, thank you, come back again next year, emails from us. But we also give them the feedback that we've gotten from you, the screeners. So a conglomerate of their scores, and we'll ask you for a few sentences of feedback. For many of these organizations, this is the first outside feedback they've ever gotten. So if you say, oh, I'm going to screen, but some of these are really weak, your screening, that 2 sentences, those numbers that you're putting in, is a gift to a new startup, is a new organization, because it's the only inputs they've got. And if we get 10 to 15 people screening, we're now giving them some really significant feedback. So, if we wanted more screeners are always better. Praddy's going to speak to that. But screening is a gift that you're giving to not just those that are going to come into our program, but as a gift to those that don't come in this year but might come back next year. And that to me is a great thing we can all do. So we'll have the screening that starts in June. It ends about mid-July. And then we get together, we look at all the results, and we will select the top 56 innovators across the 5 tracks. And then the excitement really starts for the coaches. And what we start doing is we'll sit down and we'll try to match coaches up by their areas of interest, their areas of expertise. If an innovator has asked for somebody with a specific expertise, and we'll start pairing you up. We will always pair a new coach with an experienced coach. So if you're new to coaching, don't worry, you'll have someone to work with. And then the coaching begins. And the coaching, to me, is the real heart of the program. It's the magic of the program. It is a great gift that we're giving to the innovators. For this several-week period, you get to help the innovator look and reflect on their program and put their pitch together. Now, I know Patty's going to talk this a little more, but we are pitch coaches. You're not getting involved in their organizations. You're not joining their boards. You're not to be donors. I mean, if you want to, that's lovely, but that's not what this program is about. And we'll have an orientation with the innovators, and we make that very clear. So you'll have the period of time where you'll start working with the innovators. And the 3rd week of August, we have some pitch clinics. And this is an open clinic. Has anybody volunteered so far to be a clinic coach? Yeah, Peter, you have no choice in that. How many years has it been for you?
This is year 4, I think.
Just year 4? I thought you beat me out by 1 year. Okay. All right. And what this is, we have all the innovators come in, and they give we bring them in groups of 5 groups of about 12 coaches. 12 innovators. And they will do their 5-minute pitches, and trust me, these pitches do not run 5 minutes. Their timing is all off. They think they've practiced it a million times in the bathroom with a timer going, and no, it's not 5 minutes. It's 3.5 minutes, it's 7 minutes. We tell them when to slow down and when they're done. And then we have a few minutes to have an interactive session with them where you might say, why did you talk a lot about that, but then you didn't hit this other really key point that I thought was so sexy about your program. And you can have a little bit of interaction. We only give 10 minutes per innovator, or else this would go on forever. But it's a way to have a real direct input for them to practice more than just in front of their coaches and in front of their bathroom mirror and their cat and their desk buddy who's probably sleeping on the couch. Yes, ma'am.
Is the pitch clinic, is the audience for that only the coaches?
No, you can, it's anybody who wants to be a pitch clinic coach. So there's regular coaches, which can also be pitch clinic coaches.
Okay, but can screeners go to that?
Yes, and probably, yes.
And also the presenters too. The other presenters can also provide the feedback.
Yes, yeah, we're very ecumenical. You can volunteer all you want. That way. And so we'll have the pitch clinics, and that'll set us up for the quarterfinals in mid-September. And at the quarterfinals is where we cut our 56 down to 28. And we hold the quarterfinals in the student quarterfinals, where we run the high school and college students, and then the non-student quarterfinals, where we run the two nonprofit groups and the for-profit groups. Do I have any people that have volunteered to be for-profit coaches? Sometimes we pull those out. Yeah, I got a bunch of those. Okay, and that you will get to deliberate and select those innovators. And then they take all the feedback, and we just run into the semifinals. Now, I want to remind you that if you're any of the innovators that are selected to be semifinalists, they do get to be at the final showdown, at the trade show part, the exhibition part of the showdown, where people can come and interact with them. There are also some awards that semifinalists can also win, so there's money involved for the semifinalists. So some people say, oh, I'm a semifinalist, not a finalist. Semifinalists can win money. So I just want to put that out there. And they frequently do walk out with several $1,000s. So that's not something to sneeze at. But at the semifinals is where we pick the 14 that will be presenting on stage at the final showdown. There is one more event that's held after this, which is just for the for-profits, which is held on November 14th. I keep thinking the 15th. The number 14. Where the top for-profit finalists will present to a group of accredited investors. So we don't give grants to the for-profits, but we give them an opportunity to present in front of an investing forum. So that is pretty much, I think I hit it all. Does anybody have any questions? Going. Okay, so I think I spoke to all these dates. Innovator Organization Coach assignment on the 14th of the key dates. The clinics are on a Saturday on the 26th and a Monday on the 28th. Yes, sir?
On the screening, is that all done online?
It's all done online. And we'll have a tutorial tonight on how to do the screening. The same system that we use for screening is the same system that we use for judging. So if you participate as a judge either in the quarterfinals or the semifinals, all the same system, the scores are all wiped and you start all over again. And I think I hit all of those dates.
Sorry,
Okay.
Yes. The 28th, is that an evening or is it all day?
It's afternoon.
I'm going to cover
You're gonna go
it. We have
Yeah.
the time.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions?
Related to that, are coaches typically at the events?
They are welcome to attend the events. They are not required to attend. As a coach, your job is to help prepare your innovator for the events. If you can be there, sometimes that's nice. If you can make it, if you can't make it, it's not a requirement. Okay. All coaches should know, and I'm going to add another piece in there. We record every time your innovator pitches, and we provide them with copies of the recording so that your innovator can watch them and the coaches can see them. So if you can't be there, you get to critique it, have to go forward, back, stop. No, you didn't know. That's awkward. You got to figure out another way to do that one, etc. Okay, does that make sense? Because we know you can't be there. And there's so much value in watching yourself. I became a better skier. Actually, I almost stopped skiing the first time I saw myself on video skiing, but that's just me. But you do learn a lot from seeing yourself. So you do not need to be there. Any other questions? And Pradi knows more than I do, so save your questions for him. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
So one thing I wanted to point out in this previous slide, all applicants get feedback. And there are two things which applicants tell you over and over what they value most. One is the feedback, second is the coaching, above the cash prizes. It's kind of surprising if you, it's counterintuitive a little bit, but that's true. Consistently. So we survey it and we always get this. And that's where the screeners come in, because that you write that feedback. That's the feedback that goes to everybody. So jumping right into it, as I said, is the coaches, you guys are heart and soul of this event. There is no value to this event without this, you doing that coaching, doing your part, bringing your wisdom, your experience, your knowledge to the table and sharing with them and helping them see the bigger picture, helping them see the points they need to make, helping them identify the areas they need to go work more on and stuff like that. So obviously you play a critical role, a lot of value add in this. Something else which at least I found that it's not just me sharing stuff with them. Actually, I'm getting a whole lot of things back in the process too. I get angles and perspectives I hadn't thought about. I thought, oh, that's a pretty cool way to think about something. So you get something in return as well. It's not just a one-way street. It's very, very rewarding exercise. Obviously, there's a meaningful way to give your knowledge and experience and share with the people. And as I said earlier, consistently cited by Innovators, the most valuable part is the coaching. So spend some time with your teams and you'll find it for yourself. Now the administrative trivia part of it, what it means to be a coach. First thing is that you want to be one. So it starts there. You're here, so you already answered that question. But even if you're not here, you read it or see it. Wanting to be one is the number one. You want to be able to, want to be willing to do it. Expected time commitment is about 20 hours over a 4-month period, I think. And you can think of it as two buckets. So about 10 hours leading up to the semifinals. So I think 14 July or 12 July, whenever we pair you with the innovator, up to quarterfinal, that's at least 10 hours of commitment. And then if your team makes past the quarterfinal, then you have another 10 hours leading up to semifinal and then eventually the final. Your goal, of course, is to get your team to the final showdown. I mean, that's doesn't always happen, but it's a lot of fun when it does happen. Simple thing, engage with your team. Even though we kind of expect the innovators to drive this engagement process, sometimes either they're too young, they're too busy, or they just, it's one of the 5 things to do and they never make past 4th. So if you don't hear from them, ping them. Don't have to sort of nag them or badger them or anything like that, but make sure that they know you are there and you know they're there. Sometimes it happens, somebody just drops off, either side. The coach may say, oh, I have some new thing came up and I have to move cities or I have to do something else. Anything like that happens, call us, let us know. If you're not hearing from them, let us know. If you're having difficulty for whatever reason, just let us know so we can either try to find somebody else to do it, or you can also lean on your partner, because we have 2 coaches now assigned to every innovator, which is just to handle this, so making a little redundant, but you have 2 people so you can kind of load balance between teams. Some of the other expectations from coaches, I should actually bubble up and say something else. So the coaches, screeners, and judges, they all come from the same pool. You choose what you want to be. Ideally, you want to be all of 3. But as I said earlier, sometimes it's just not possible. You don't have the time or maybe the interest or what have you. So choose what works best for you. Ideally, you want to choose 2. Whatever. Maybe you want to be a screener and a judge. Maybe you want to be a coach and a judge. Maybe you just want to be a screener for this year and maybe think other stuff next year. So whatever works for you, whatever your interest is, whatever availability is, as long as it kind of matches this, you're good to go. So you need to be you don't need to be at the pitch clinic, but it's advised that you be at the pitch clinic. But yeah, you can watch tape and they're fantastic, by the way. But it's nothing like watching that person live. You feel it because the pitches are all about emotion. It's really not about the charts and the data. You can always read it and find out. It's all about emotion. Am I conveying the value? Am I conveying my passion or what have you? So that's why I personally think it's you should plan on being at least at 1. You can be at all 5 if you want to be. And your feedback is extremely valuable in those pitch clinics. You should sign up for being a judge if you're comfortable. If you have done it before, absolutely you must sign. If you haven't done before, you're feeling a little queasy, do some screening, maybe 2 tracks to this, and see if you feel comfortable. The good thing is that we have the same rubric which runs through it at each stage. So as you do more of it, you get more comfortable as to what is that I'm looking for in application, what I'm seeking here, what I'm looking at answers for, and so on and so forth. Remember, you are not volunteers for your teams assigned to you. You don't have to go do their PowerPoints or you go and show up their financial plan. You can definitely advise. You don't have to commit to be on their board or to donate money to them or anything like that. You could do all of those things, but none of them are required and none of them are expected. And they know it too. So they're not kind of counting on you to come in there and, oh, help me make this, help me articulate my value proposition 100%, what it is. If they haven't thought about it for last whatever time they've been working on, they're probably not going to make past the first stage. And if you haven't done the coaches survey, please do it. Because that lets us know what is that you're interested in, what is your availability. So when we do the matching, try to find an optimum match for you so that your experience is a good one and so is the innovators. So if you haven't done it, please do it. You're going to get a reminder from Anthea again and again until you do it. And also, something else, your employer actually may match your hours. I know at least some companies which do it, maybe there are more, so just check on that because that means money for this program. And a lot of the awards and stuff are actually funded by the money we raise for this event, not necessarily grants and things like that, the ticket sales and the matching hours and things of that nature. Again, any questions, any concerns, please stop. Figure out what works best for you in terms of communication mechanism, pick up a phone, send an email, text, no Snapchats. Here's what the innovators are expecting from you. They've been told the same thing, what I just told you. So it's not a surprise for them. So if they ask you to do something you think is crossing the line, please push back and say, hey, this is not what I'm doing. Don't feel bad or obligate, oh my God, these guys really need help, I need to do something. Definitely point them to places where they can seek help or they can get help, not seek help, get help. Be flexible in the way you communicate. Some people love to meet one-on-one at Starbucks or wherever. Some people like to do Skype. Some people like to pick up the phone, still email, whatever works for you. So it's between you and your team. Whatever works best for you, go with that. There is no requirement per se. Next few things are really obvious, they're like seeking feedback from you. They're really not asking you to do something explicitly for them. Let's say they can communicate their concerns as well, if they have any. Pitch clinics, I got a bunch of questions. So this is, I think, is a very, very cool aspect of this event. So here is the first time you're kind of in a live situation. You have people sitting in front of you, you're pitching this idea. Maybe probably for the first time ever in front of more than 2 or 3 people. And you have been working at it. And obviously, as Maureen pointed out, your timing is off, you forget 4 points, you just collapse, whatever. All kinds of things I've seen and happen 4 or 5 events. People just start sweating and they can't say anything. They're super nervous, what have you. And all that is okay, perfectly fine. Nothing unusual about any of that stuff. But the value there is they get feedback from multiple perspectives. They get from coaches, screeners. When I say coaches, by the way, always think it's all the same. Coaches, screeners, judges, they all come from the same pool. So they get feedback from them. They get feedback from their peers. There are other presenters in the room, and they are learning from their experience, and they provide feedback to you as well. And there may be other people who couldn't be judges, coaches, or whatever this year, and they just said, somebody asked, can I just come and help? Yes, you're welcome to come and help. And end of their presentation, you fill out this little sheet, takes less than 30 seconds to do it. based on your impression. Don't have to be super scientific, but it gives you a good idea to the presenter where they stand in terms of the audience. And it's a big, big help. And it comes up from a collective, a broader subset of people than just their coach or just their friends. And so we have 5 such clinics, roughly divided about 12, companies or entities in each clinic. I don't think we do it by the track, but we probably mix them up. And we have a lot of coaches and screeners and judges and some other SVP partners and people attend to provide feedback. You can sign up for 1, 2, 3, or all 5, depending on your availability. So it's totally flexible. Or none. I hope none of you.
Peter signed up for all 5.
Oh, thank you so much. Me too. So they're very company. Here are the timings. So we try to space them out so that, basically try to remove all the barriers in your path to being there. Oh, I can do afternoon. Oh, I got one in the morning. You can do morning. Oh, I got it for the noon. So you have pretty much everything you can see. Early morning, morning, early afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. You can come here. Or there's another location downtown Seattle. You can go there. So lots of choices. So choose one, and we're gonna you're gonna get a follow-up email, which will have all this information in there, so you know when to. And you'll also get, of course, a reminder to sign up for that. And again, please sign up for as many as you can. Screeners. So as important as the coaches are, is the screeners, the first line. So they are the ones who read all the applications. And here's, as I said earlier, one of the feedback we get from our innovators and everybody is that the feedback is super valuable. Whether they made the cut or not, whether they made it to the 56 or went to quarterfinal or whatever, all that is great. But the feedback they got was very valuable. And why it is valuable? Because we can get any number of people looking at it. Let's say somebody's idea got 15 different people looked at it. They have different backgrounds, different experiences. They got 15 sets of feedback, which is super rich for them. So they already got a lot of value out of it simply by applying. And we want to make it useful for them. It's not just the rote work. So more people look at these applications, the better it is for our innovators. So I encourage all of you to do at least one track. We prefer if you do 2, and we love if you do all 5. But there's lots of applications. And there's some crazy people, one goes unnamed, would do it, some people do it. But at least pick one track. And you can pick the track based on your interest. You can pick the track because you want to be challenged. You want to see what goes on in for-profit thingy. How could you make money by feeding homeless people? Surprisingly, you can, and that's where the innovation kicks in. So pick your, particular track you want to focus on. Each track probably would have 20 applications, maybe 20, 22 applications, roughly. But go through all of them. And here's something else I learned over time. You should just read them all in one go, and then come back and then score it. Otherwise, you're really harsh on the early ones. You say, oh yeah, that's a stupid idea. Oh, whatever.
You can't go back and change scores.
But I'm saying you don't even score it, just read it. I'm just sharing my experience, and yours might vary, and that's equally valid. But if you read the whole thing, you get an idea of what I'm dealing with. Because ultimately, you want a group of peers. You don't want the extremes. Extremes are going to be either fall out or make it anyways. It's the people in the middle you're really worried about. You don't want to be too harsh on them or too lenient on them. Just fair. So if you read all the applications, you get a sense of the landscape. What kind of applications are these? And then you're able to make better judgment when it comes to scoring. Is it really a good plan, strong plan, what have you? So that's the way I do it, but your mileage may vary, and you can do whatever works for you. And we count on being lots of judges to actually neutralize that biases anyways, right? So if not all of us are going to do the same thing anyway. So it kind of evens out, but that's my experience on that. Other thing which I think you should do, and maybe this is where you need to take some time and learn about the rubric. And the rubric is a set of criteria which we kind of listed out and kind of constantly refined over time, is here are the things I'm looking for in this application. Here's what these things mean. Here's what the score means. What is a 3? Just because I can't decide, I put 3, or is it because? So we try to be as explicit about those things as possible in the instructions. What constitutes a 3? What constitutes a 5? What constitutes a 1? By the way, they're not only 3 scores. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can give score between 1 and 5. 5, of course, the best. 1 is the least. Also learn a little bit about the reviewer. We're going to have a little tutorial Jamisa is going to give towards the end, how to use this tool. It's a wonderful tool which we use to manage all the application submission, evaluation, scoring, feedback, comments. So it's super rich. So knowing how to use it just makes your life a lot easier. As Marine said, you can go back and change your score if you so decide. Only if you knew that you could do it and then how to do it. So it pays. It doesn't take much. A very friendly tool, so it's easy to do it. And as you need to at least pick one. Here's what you're supposed to do. You need to look at each application, and on each of those rubric, you need to assign a score between 1 and 5. Eventually, after you're done doing that, you're gonna say, should this application move to the next round or not? And here's the rub. Sometimes you score them, you say, wait a minute, you only got 8, and I'm saying go forward. Something is messed up, right? So either my threshold I decided mentally is too low, or I didn't really score the application very well. I didn't pay attention. Most important part, write something meaningful. Don't say, oh yeah, good application. A feedback. Tell them why it is good or why it is not good, where they could have, what else they could have done. Something like that. And you don't have to do super, deeper research on any of this stuff. It's exactly what impression, when you're reading it, what came to your mind? What do you thought? Oh, you guys haven't thought about X, Y, Z. Well, let's write it there. And that is extremely valuable feedback to them. It takes about 6 to 8 hours, by the way, to go through about 15, 20 applications. And the more you do it, the faster it gets. So this is the thing about that. Here's the evaluation criteria. So before I do that, I'm going to just pass this thing around. I'm just going to mistake and pass it back. There were 2. Yeah. So no, I'll stay. So there's one is the dates, and I just wanted to hand it out the paper, and because thrown around a lot of dates. It's about this happens when. So it's going to just maybe plan a little bit, and the criteria. This is the rubric I was talking about. So we have, of course, there's some. So number one thing we're looking for in every application. What social impact is it? Remember, there's S in SVP is for social, and V is for the venture. So it must have measurable or at least significant social impact. So we're not looking for plays here in which social impact is minimal or non-existent, and we do get applications like that, and that's okay. Here is you come in and you look at it, and if you look at the sheet up here, can you borrow something? So for each criteria, for example, societal impact, we can have a little description in there. I'm going to read all of that, but actually is a brief explanation of what does that mean. And then you apply as you see it fit, whether this particular application meets it, and if it does, to what degree, and that determines the score. And of course, it's going to be different from different people, and that's perfectly fine. There are also some questions in there which kind of prompt you to ask that question. Did this application answer this thing? I mean, did they answer how they're going to survive 3 months after today, or what have you? Things like that, which kind of then forces you to look for that information in their application. And as I said, if you've done it before, it's like, it's just going to happen. You know that. If you do few applications, it'll become almost automatic, because then you're going to look at that and say, yeah, where is this piece of information? And you look for it. Some people load a bunch of information as the attachments, by the way. A video, a business plan, a PowerPoint. You're welcome to peruse all that. But, our questionnaire is designed to be your exec summary, effectively. So my principle, and this is my personal, and your mileage may vary. If that questionnaire doesn't answer doesn't get me excited about that, whether they have what I'm expecting, then I don't really bother too much going to their website and whatnot. Sometimes I see something that I say, wow, this is really exciting. Maybe they forgot, maybe they didn't mention something, then I'll go click on their website or look at their PowerPoint. And occasionally I watch video too, which I very rarely do. But again, your mileage may vary. You want to look at some of those if you want, not required. Again, we allow them to provide that information just in case somebody wants to look at it because they didn't think that question got answered. And it works more importantly in the for-profit cases because they're already used to, in some cases, making pitches, and they've already done a bunch of work, which may not, sometimes they're also taking a square peg in the round hole. You know, I mean, they're figuring out, can I figure out some social impact of what I was doing already? And you see it. Right? So social impact, number one. And the next is the leadership team. And this is always a challenge. If you're an established group, of course you're farther along. But if you're a newbie, you're probably not very strong on that. I don't want to penalize people if they're already not very strong, as long as they recognize that they need to fill these holes. That's important. And of course, the clarity of concept, because a lot of it is about passion. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're just wasting your time, really. So the passion has to come through. And sometimes they may not be able to express it in words and whatnot. And that's where you have to look at other clues in their application. You know, what have they done? Why they got involved? And so on and so forth. So look at that. Of course, for these two, so that those three apply to all tracks, all 5 tracks. For student and nonprofit, we also focus on innovation. We also focus on innovation in other two, but more strongly, and sustainability. Because often, especially in the college and student tracks, they just don't think about beyond 4 months. Oh, so what happens in December? Oh, I hadn't thought about it, I'll graduate. It's an answer, an honest answer, but it shows you something, right? So you look at people who have thought about, like in fact, I'll give you an example of a group, which I think 3 years ago, they had a proposal in which they're going to freeze your cells or whatever, and they're going to use them for drug trials so that you don't have to be injected and your cells could be injected with whatever the molecules and compounds there may be. And they went up to, I think, quarterfinal or whatever, and they didn't make it. But they're going to apply again. So they have been they had this in mind. They knew it's not an overnight play, it's not a couple of months, it's a long game. So obviously that's what got them further along, and let's see what they come up with this time. For the for-profit, those who come from business backgrounds, there's a lot less to explain, but for anybody else who's looking at it, so again, look at, have they thought about their competition? Have they thought about who other players in the game are? How big is the market? And I'm using the market, whosoever they're serving, okay? Whosoever they're pitching, or who are they going to use their product or service or what have you? How many other players are there? What they can hope to carve out of that market in next, say, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? How much money they will need? What they will do with that money? Do they have a business plan? I mean, so I build this product, and it's true of a lot of engineering people. You know, they always have something. They have a solution and looking for a problem. Where do I fit it? Where do I fit it? Not an interesting idea. So you're always looking at a solution which coupled with a problem, which is really worth solving. That's the one something which can be sustained and taken forward. So look for those things. Resources. So you have a lot of help as you do this job. And we are here to help you and make it as easy and frictionless as possible. So this is a coach's handbook, which is again going to come back to you in email or whatever the format we decide. Maybe you'll put it all in a shared location. There's a rubric which we just passed around. There's an Innovators manual, so you know what those guys are thinking and doing. There's a survey I mentioned earlier. And here's some contact emails which you can use to, if you need, something help about, not getting response from your team, or you have a situation you want to switch out or change or whatever it might be. use that, the coach coordinator one as a coach help group, which right now it says support, but we used to have, and I apologize, haven't finalized that one yet, where coaches can talk among themselves too. So they can share, what they are learning or what they are seeing, and so, we don't have to be, I love to call it, I don't have to make my own square wheel or hexagonal wheel. Somebody already did that. We're all going to get an accounts on the reviewer, the system, and we also put together an FAQ, which is like we get the same questions over and over. How do I sign up for this? How do I do that? What's a cooperative versus a B corporation, a C corporation, an LLC, and XYZ? So things like that, the mostly asked questions. Any questions?
So you mentioned before, when you're screening, you tend to read all of the applications to
That's
basically to create a benchmark to understand. Do you find it valuable to have, a 1, a 3, and a 5 example from last year or some of the previous years to give us a benchmark of what kind of quality we're going to work with?
If you, when you get the, so it's actually, we have in your application or in the packet you're going to get this, actually it visually describes. It does describe here the elements which will make it 1 or 3 or 5.
But I mean,
it doesn't give
actual
examples. We actually did that. We could do that maybe in a separate session, or that's a good one. But if you go to example of everyone, we're going to be just spending probably an hour or something.
No, just one example.
Yeah, so I give an example of this bike thing, right? So look at a program which takes 4 kids off school, after school, right? So that they don't have just wandering around the streets and getting in trouble, and say, hey, we're going to teach you how to repair the bikes. So you get a skill, plus you're off the street, you're kind of productively engaged, right? Building your self-esteem. This is good for those 4 kids. But it doesn't scale. I can take 4, maybe next year I can do 8 and 16. 40. So it's a good model? Yes, it's a good model. It's a great model? I'm not so sure. What is the better model of that? Well, I'm going to take these 4 kids and I'm going to train them to be like me. So they become 4 trainers, right? Those 4 kids each go get 4 kids and do the same thing. Suddenly we start increasing the impact. We have now more kids off the street, more kids getting their self-esteem raised, more kids not getting into trouble, more kids actually helping other kids. So this model kind of begins to just expand and sustains itself, right? So that's a great model. So I'll actually rate them very, very high if somebody thought of them. Doesn't have to be always. There'll be other examples. Let's say, hopefully we will show you a pitch towards the end about the prison scholar fund. So this guy was in jail, and he decided, that he's going to get himself an education. He realized he made a mistake or whatever, but he was in jail, so he has to do this thing through postal service, written assignments and lectures and whatnot. And his dad was there to help him pay for it. And he realized, it's a funny pitch, I want to steal all the thunder, but actually, what he realized that if we help people get an education for when they get out, turns out like 5 out of 7 people getting out go back in because they can't find a job, they don't have any skills, nobody wants them, they're on the street, they get further trouble, back in jail, right? So your jail population growing and we're all paying for it. So if we took some of that money and actually spend on their education, so when they got out, their chance of getting a job and having a safer, better life increased. So they're no longer a burden on you, but that little investment went a long way. So you just multiply that. You apply in one jail, then you apply in one city or one county, then you take it to other counties. The program scales. No wonder they won the prize, of course. So that would be an example of somebody, I'll say, they're probably 4 or 5. And there are a bunch of other, so as you read, literally, these applications are all over. And any of these, you can pick one and you can just apply that little test here. Does it scale? Can these guys, you think this model can move forward? This team can move forward, right? And so just those questions are designed to exactly ask that question of that application or the applicant. Other question?
I think it's really very
No worries.
If you, so say you're on the for-profit track and you get a program that seems like it should be, it's better suited for the not-for-profit track, what does that feedback look like? And during the process, is it still early enough that you can integrate the
First of all, they
No.
have to be a 501c3 being nonprofit. So,
So,
they can't swap, but we have coached organizations that have been, we've coached them both ways through our program, where they have been for profits, and we're like, you guys are crazy. You should be a nonprofit. I mean, I don't personally do that. We have people that are coaches that work with us, and then we'll bring in some of our experienced coaches sometimes that people are like, this organization is cost you wrong. And we have worked with organizations that do our coaching. They said, you know, we always thought we should have been the other, and we coached them and they have swapped. So it's easier to go from nonprofit to for-profit to stay in our program. If you're for-profit, you go to nonprofit, the problem is to get 501c3 fast. And that's the problem. But it does happen. I can tell you, in the years I've been in this program, I've seen it happen twice.
thank you. So, yes, so first thing you do provide that feedback, whatever it is, going this way, that way. There's logistical challenges going from for-profit to non-profit. So I coached a company 2 years back. They do this mobile service in I forget the name now, the company. They're very successful now. They actually, after we talked for about maybe 2 or 3 sessions, they came back and said, Pradeep, we just changed our mind. We're going to be a for-profit company. And they presented, of course, they didn't advance because they couldn't show the social aspect of it. But they're a successful business now. They're 2 years out, and they've raised a bunch of money. They're going whole hog on that. So yes, it does happen sometimes. And I think that's what we owe to these people, just the honest feedback. If you think that is what they should do, it's up to them to take it or not take it. It's their call. But if you think that's where they would benefit, share with them. So do it. Any other? The reason I say art, because there is no method. There's no template I can give you. I mean, we try to do templates and stuff, and you can see that there are as many exceptions to this thing as the real rules. So it ultimately is a subjective process. So what works? So the best thing, at least the way we look at it, is we look at people who are successful. I mean, you're gonna see if you come to these pitch clinics and stuff. There's some people who will just stand out. Why? Because I don't know. They just model these characteristics, if you will. You know. They somehow gain the trust of the people they're mentoring or coaching. Number one, if you don't have a good relationship, it doesn't really matter how smart you are, how smart they are, it's just not going to go anywhere. So gaining the trust is very important. And also creating sort of a forum or way in which they can be free and you can offer them the opportunity to grow and learn and vice versa. So make yourself available, if you will, not as a judge or critiquing something with more as their partner. And ultimately, remember, your goal is to get them in tip-top shape for that hopefully final showdown pitch. At 5 minutes, they get in front of about 1,000 people where they get to make this pitch, literally, for people's heartstrings. You know, people want to see that, oh, wow, where do I sign? I really want that answer. So that's where you need to get them ready for. And of course, there are other more mechanical components. You know, of course, there has to be a story, and there are people who are going to help you along with that. I mean the innovators. And you could be that person too. But at the end of the day, you got to have a compelling story, which means you have a compelling idea to share, and then how you're going to take it forward. Here's what effective coaches do. They listen a lot and talk less. I mean, I've been guilty of just talking. You know, they're just going over their head. Or you're not really listening what I'm saying. So listen, it takes patience. Sometimes it gets frustrating, but it's okay. Listen, just absorb whatever you can and make up your own mind about the organization. How good the team is, how good their business is, who their clients are, what are they trying to do, what they could be doing, and so on and so forth. Ask tons of questions, because that's the best way to get information. And you may know something similar, something, hold back. Don't have to blurt it out. Oh, I've seen this one. No, don't say that. No, I haven't seen that. Tell me more. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Help them. Don't ask them to do something. say, okay, go change this slide, move this bullet up there, full picture. No, don't do that. Help them. Don't. So give them sort of leading questions, which makes them think. So ask them, what about this? Oh, I didn't think of that. Well, let's talk about that. So you do that versus, okay, you go should do this, because some people are receptive to that. Some people, the entrepreneur types, are not because they have their mind. Yes, sorry.
And I coached a lot of people. I used to do what Party's doing. Some innovators are remarkably resistant to coaching. And they're very committed to it, and you just have, you can't fix them, and that's, you can make suggestions, etc. And it just happens sometimes. So that's the good point about you can't get on their case, and sometimes they just will take suggestions. Roll with it.
So try to get the best out of them. It has to be their passion, it has to be their story. It's not your story. It's not your belief in the cause or the model. It's their story, it's their passion, it's them on the stage. So you're coaching them to be the best they can be. It's more mechanical stuff, obvious, you gotta meet early, meet often. I suggest you meet at least once in person. It's nice to know a person, shake their hand. But you could use other means if that works for you or them. Sometimes people are traveling, sometimes they have other commitments. Remember, they're doing something. They're not just doing this pitch. They have a business to run or whatever nonprofit they have. So they have other work as well. Be respectful of that. Provide feedback and provide timely feedback. If they say, hey, I'm doing this pitch, and they ask you 4 questions, and you say, well, I'll get back to you next week. Well, it's too late. Maybe take 5 minutes and provide some feedback. Now I say, wait a minute, maybe we can get together on this day or whatever. Let's go over this. So keep them engaged. And of course, nothing beats practice. Nothing in anything. So make them practice as much with you, with others, with their team. Something else I found works really well. You should get to know the team as well, not just the presenter. Sometimes, quote unquote, the founder may not be the best presenter. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just somebody else on their team may be a better communicator, they have a better demeanor, what have you, or it comes naturally to them to tell the story than the founder. That's okay, but it should be with their agreement. Again, nothing to be imposed on them. And here's what the good pitches look like. So we just did a storytelling workshop here at SVP. Lately, I've been hearing a lot about storytelling in every forum. And actually, it has a lot to it. Because human beings respond to stories. Nobody likes to look at the charts. And, I like to look at them, but if it doesn't catch my imagination, I'm not going to look at it. So here's what we learned. Story of self, story of us, story of now. 3 elements. Story of us, why the hell am I doing it? What's driving me? What caused me to get involved into this? Whatever it is I'm doing. What is it? What's driving? What's my passion? So that's number 1. Story of us. This is about your group, your organization of people. And it's not just the people who may be working with you. Could be your advisors, could be your donors, could be your clients. All of those. So who are we? And why this thing is important to us? Why it has to be done? And then story of now. Well, I'm doing it. Why now? Can I do it tomorrow, next year, next century, next decade, whatever? Why now? What's the problem? What's the challenges? What if we didn't do it? What if somebody else did it? Stuff like that. And then, of course, you need to know who your clients are. Fundamental rule. Right? So don't have a solution searching for a problem. So you know who your clients are, who is the population you aim to serve, and make sure they are a stakeholder in whatever you do. And how are you different? Because I did a few startups, and I learned that every time I have a brilliant idea, the next I found out there are 4,000 people had that same idea yesterday, and another 10,000 will have tomorrow. So it's no different here. If you're doing something, trust me, there are probably some hundreds of people already doing it, or at least thinking about it. Learn from it. So it's not that you shouldn't do it, because you may have a unique approach to it, you may have a new solution to it, all is worthwhile. but just be aware there are other people doing it. So you need to know how you are different. More about the pitch, what it should have in it. And again, a lot of people like, well, how do I measure the work? So simple example, let's say I'm a nonprofit, my job is to, what I aspire to do is to get, say at risk youth, get into college or stay in high school, or pick your metric. Well, if I do this, did I increase the number of kids who graduated from high school? By how much? By doing this, did it make a difference or not? Or we just went through the motion and maybe have some incremental result. So that is always good to be articulate that. And then this other question, which we put more as a psychological block. We always say, oh, we cannot raise that much money. But actually, it turns out you really don't want to think about it. So you ask this question sometime, by the way, if you're angry somebody. Somebody says, we can do this because we don't have X. So say, okay, let me give you X. What are you going to do with X? And you see the silence you're going to encounter most of the time. But there's some who would actually know exactly what you'll do with that X. And you then know you found the person. Because often, we just don't want to do that hard work, which like, so it's easy for me to say, well, I'm never going to have raised $10 million, therefore I don't have to do it. So if you did raise $10 million, what would you do with it? Do you have a plan? Have you thought about it? Oh, I don't have enough engineers, I don't have enough board members, pick your whatever number is. So always ask that question and make them answer that question in their pitch. So I'm looking to do X, and this is what I'm going to do with X. Whatever that X is, could be money, people, time, expertise, what have you. And of course, always wind up with actually being grateful for the opportunity, because you really, again, connecting with people on there. And people appreciate that, surprisingly. Self-explanatory. If you remember any pitch you've seen, good pitch, which makes an impression on you, these are typically the elements you see. It's authentic, and the passion comes out, people are pretty humble who are making the presentation, they don't claim to know all the answers. Nobody knows all the answers, I do it. And they're confident in whatever they are proposing or presenting. And that comes from having done the work, not because they're simply putting a brave face. Now I'm gonna see if we can run this video. We can run this video. Can we click on this? Janissa, can we press that button somewhere? Because if I press this on the next slide. So this is the Prison Scholar Fund, by the way, which I mentioned earlier. So it's gonna, and you only get 5 minutes. No Q&A. Good. If you have a touch screen, just press that button up there. Oh. Technology. I used to work in. Yes. X.
I'm next too, and not volunteering basis.
Thanks. Next.
While James is getting that set up. Oh, wait, no, I think they got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, thank you so much.
Takes a village. Oh, now you're.
I got it.
There.
He's very soft-spoken.
Actually, he was when he first started out. He was extremely soft-spoken, and that was a lot of the feedback he got was to speak up.
He was awesome when he did it.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
He got most improved pitch that year, and proceeded to, once he got off the stage, start crying. And it was really cute because all the innovators like huddled around him and were hugging him. They really become a really close kind of group over the course of this. And a lot of them form partnerships, start working together afterwards. I know this because I'm the innovator coordinator, so I communicate, I send emails to them, I make them hit their deadlines. If they're being troublesome, tell someone and I will go nag them for you. So you will not be the bad person. I will be the bad person. So.
We can do this working, let's just go to the computer and we can send this out to
We'll
you.
send that.
Okay.
There are two pitches I would love for you to watch, and I'll ask the team to get them sent out. It's this one, and then there was a 14-year-old, who said passage last year? Bell Pan, 14 years
Yeah.
old. Great pitch.
The kids do the best. I think they just I mean, they have such brilliant ideas and they're so confident. You know.
Yeah, they don't know yet to be afraid. But
Okay,
Pan
so
president, and-
with that, Jennifer, you want to go to the reviewer?
Yep, Anthea is actually just.
I'm gonna jump in for a quick like 2-second thing, because I'm like the logistics person on the team, and so that means I kind of coordinate all the emails and the communications that people get. So that survey link that some of you have seen, you'll all be getting it along with the materials from today. That survey link is super, super important to me, because that is how I keep track of what you want to volunteer for. So whether it's a coach, a judge, a pitch clinic coach, screener, any of those, that is how I know what you want to do and which emails you should be getting as those events come up. And for the coaches, that's how you'll say, I want to be involved with for-profits only, or I want to be involved in maybe all of them or just nonprofits. We have the survey leads you through all of that, and that's how then we make the matches. So, and for screeners, it's how we know to set up accounts for you on the system that James is going to demonstrate. So we have to get that all done kind of in advance of screening. So therefore, we need to know who you are that want to screen. So super important that you send out the survey. You'll be getting reminders from me because it's what I do. If you did, no, totally fine. So many of you have done the survey. If you took it, fantastic. I'll probably be sending a thank you to all of you who have taken it, just so you know I have it. And then for those of you who haven't, if you could, when we send out the link again, that would be fantastic from the logistics person. Yes, I try really hard not to send out duplicate emails, but I have a list of like 200 people, so.
Do you still need coaches?
Yes. We like having 2 coaches per team. Currently, we have at least enough for 1 coach per team, which is great, but 2 per team is really great, especially with people's different schedules and traveling. It really helps, and giving another perspective.
We need about 120 coaches, and that's one of the goals of Fast Pitch, is that we create opportunities for people to donate their time to screening opportunities, and it's very limited time. It's 20 to 40 hours. It's not a lot of time. It's usually busy with people to do. So, and you work in large corporations. We've had large corporations trying to have a whole department. There's a bunch of people in your department that wants to just coach. Will come in and do a screening session just for that.
And
Yeah.
if I want to add something else that I'll do that I didn't put on my survey, do we just email you directly?
Email me directly.
Say,
Totally
I can now
fine.
do
Yes,
this.
or any one of us, and they will let me know.
She's in charge.
Which any of us, and they'll let me know, and I'll add it to my spreadsheet because I manage spreadsheets.
And the survey takes only 2 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
And Anthea is the person in charge of all of the innovators.
Yeah.
So she. Oh, did you switch? Yeah, I was just.
The innovators. The innovators.
So the innovators. And then also wanted to touch on Davey and Colette, who you'll also be seeing emails from as far as all the coach communication. So anything that Anthea sends out to the innovators, will also make sure you guys are in the loop, so that you kind of know where the innovators are in the process, kind of what their timeline looks like, and everyone's in sync. One other just key thing on, as Maureen mentioned, we don't want to bombard you with emails. We also will be setting up a Google site, so we have one kind of one-stop shop microsite that you guys can go and get all of the information that you need to. So there will be some emails, but we'll try to not bombard you all the time. Cool, and I will quickly go through, so this next just quick couple slides really applies to those that will screen and to anyone that would be a quarterfinal or semifinal judge. So really quick reviewer, some of you guys, if you've used PitchBurner, Reviewer's the same program. It basically is a web-based program if some of you just thought you walked in today and only wanted to coach, screening could be something that you guys also want to do. That's very valuable and can work with your time schedule and your computer on the go.
And you can drink wine while you screen.
Yes, yes, and wine is perfectly acceptable. That might equal high scores though, so we'll see. Again, my name is Jamesa, so I will follow up to anyone that we know through the survey that you want to be a screener. I'll be setting you up with an account, and if you have any issues, we can go through that. But this is really high level. Most of us are probably familiar with tech living in Seattle and on the West Coast. So basically you have your standard dashboard here. Any updates we have, things that would be communicated within the system will be here. Unless you've indicated, there were a few that said you only wanted to do for-profit, I will only expose that track to you. If we don't have that indicator, then you will see all 5 tracks here. And you can just pick the track or tracks that you want to review. Ultimately, you will have a list, so once we accept all the applications and you log in, you'll see everything in that track. You just hit view, and if you go back to it, so we talked about you start an application, you want to come back, it'll just tell you where your progress is, so you can always kind of save and come back to where you left off. And then ultimately, once you click view, you go into the submission and you would click evaluate now. And then as Prati mentioned, some submissions have additional attachments, media files, etc. So that would all be here. There's also a notes section that you can leave for other judges to see and have some collaborative discussion if that is useful as well. And then ultimately, the rubric that you guys have in hand is also embedded into the system. So as you go scroll through the application, you'll have each of the scoring criteria and the text there as a reminder. And then it's a simple drop-down menu that goes from 1 to 5 for you to score. And then ultimately, the final question before you submit is just, should this applicant move on? And it's as easy as that. It's fairly intuitive. Again, we're here to help. I think we're actually even on time, which is great. We can open it up for questions for sure. Just again, this is my first fast pitch. I just joined SVP a month ago. So for all of us, I say a huge thank you. This program doesn't happen without the coaches and the screeners. So just know that that is truly key for all of us. So we're happy that you gave up your evening and are here with us. Did you want to say a couple words? Any questions? You know, we threw a lot at you guys.
I just had a question about the platform. Do you have to score it to advance, or can you review it as was suggested and then go back and score?
You can go read through them all and don't have to do any scoring. You can score as you go and then go back and adjust your scoring. I do like Friday does. I actually, a little different. I read a few of them just to get a gist and get my head in the game. Then I'll start scoring, and then I'll sometimes go back and forth and do a little adjustment if you're new to scoring. You want to read a few, score a few, then read a few more, and then start equalizing. It's hard unless you've read a bunch of them to like go, oh, is this like a 5 or is it like a 4? We don't have 4.5s or anything like that. We just keep it simple. So you can go back and change. And then we have the bonus question at the end of should this advance? Because sometimes wasn't great on this, wasn't great on that, but there's something about it that compelled you. Say that it compelled you. Don't do the math in your head that this was my higher score. And sometimes, yeah, they did well, but it's just not compelling. Say, no, I've read 5 others that were better than this one, even though they were pretty good. So use that as a bonus question. Yes?
So is each of the application is reviewed, has to be reviewed by all the reviewers?
No. We ask you to review as many as you can. We ask you to review a whole track so that you can have that comparison like I was talking about before. So if you want to do the startup nonprofit track, please do all of the startup nonprofits. On the student tracks, we get fewer applications in. So I asked if you could do the high school and the college student applications. We'll get, if it runs like it has in past years, we get the most in the areas of for-profit and established nonprofits. So you might just want to do, maybe one of the big tracks and then one of the little tracks, like just the high school track or something like that. You can, but if that's not a requirement, I have no way of checking, and I won't go back to you and say, well, you didn't do that. Just do as many as you can, what works for you. We ask you to give us about 6 hours so that it's a significant contribution, but whatever works for you is fine with us. We try to get about 10 people to read each application, so they get good feedback, and that's usually not a problem. We have enough screeners coming in. Yes, ma'am.
Ronnie said something very interesting when he was talking that to not pick the extremes. In other words, on the high extreme, if there's some that's so good that you feel like it would succeed without help from SVP, is that?
No, you do want to score them high.
I mean, was that a reason to say though that it shouldn't advance?
No, not at all.
No, not at all. I think that is maybe very obvious, so you may be tempted not to skim over the applications. Oh, they're too good. Let's say go ahead.
Yeah.
4, 4, 4, 4, 4, or whatever.
Yeah, you do want to.
So-
You do want to sort them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we are looking for the best ones.
You
We're
are-
looking
you're
for the ones that
looking for the
most
best.
need help.
Yeah, you want to, and that's we want to accelerate those that will benefit the most from our acceleration.
Okay.
So those are the strongest applications. If they're not as strong, we will give them feedback and invite them to come back next year to be stronger. We want to accelerate those that are more likely to make their contribution. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
On the criteria to move on or not, are we trying to move on about 50% of them? Are we supposed to keep that in mind as we're
Don't
scoring
worry
them?
about it, no. We worry about that when we hit deliberations. You don't worry about it. You just say, hey, this one looks like something I would like to see move forward. If you're moving them all forward, that might be a little check in your own head that maybe I should be a little discerning. Or it could be we just had a fabulous stock of applicants. Just give it your honest opinion, and that's really what we're looking for. Because we have a lot of people screening, we get to crowdsource it. It all works out at the end every year, so don't worry about that. Don't overthink it. Okay, yeah, one.
I'm just curious, so you're saying as a reviewer, you are evaluating this application on different attributes, right? You're giving a rating from 1 to 5?
Yes.
And then you're also giving a go or no go.
No, and we just factor that so you're gonna evaluate the different criteria. If it's the nonprofit, if it's the for-profits, they have 6 criteria. If it's the nonprofits and the students, there are 5 criteria. And then we ask you to tell us go or no go, and we'll review everything. We'll summarize all the raw data, and then we'll see how many goes or no goes they get. But sometimes if we have a tie, that could be like part of the tiebreaker that we use.
So there's some kind of a manual intervention.
I think what they're going at is, so here's what happens after you've done screening, right?
Thank you.
For each track, we tabulate all information. Let's say 10 people reviewed student track, right? So each application has about 10 scores for each rubric. So we know all the scores they got and we can average it or whatever. So this is roughly what they got. And then we look at I think it almost always bubbles out. You can see the people with the maximum score or also have go no. Occasionally there'll be an outlier which says score may not match, but they got a go, or score is high and they got a no go. Then we go back and look at that particular specific, what is it? What might have made you? And sometimes,
you are not making the decision.
You don't have to make that decision.
We're making the decision, but we want to see how many go votes they got. Because as Project says, that sometimes will affect us when we have, especially those lying on the bubble. The top ones are easy, the bottom ones are easy, the middle ones, that gets a little
So often it becomes a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
5 people said go and 3 people said no go, and okay, so we can then decide as a group whether it's a go.
The tiebreakers are the go, no go, and impact, by the way. Those are the 2 that we'll look at for tiebreakers. If it's highly impactful, but it's a little weaker, we'll push it forward. And if a lot of people said, yeah, there was just something there that grabbed me, push it forward into the high range. Other questions? Any other questions on anything you need to know? You guys are great.
So maybe just 2 housekeeping things. Just if anyone was interested, there are copies of the application that the innovators actually see outside. You don't have to take it. We're not trying to push paper, but for those of you that are screening, could be good to get the other side of the coin. And then just please make sure that we have you either signed in or have your email, because we will make sure that we send out all of the follow-up information.
Also, everybody needs to finish all the food because I don't want to take it home. I've been doing this program. I'm a volunteer. And James is our staff person that thank God we got on board. But the rest of us are volunteers. We do this out of love for the innovators, and when you get to see a couple of the innovator presentations, you will see the love that we feel towards them. It is an amazing program. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being part of Fast Pitch. Have a glass of wine, have some more cookies.